değerli katılımcılar.
Dear participants, watching and listening us in front of their screens, with the cooperation of the Aegean Economic Development Foundation and the Scanji Group, with the support of the Izmir Metropolitan Municipality and the strategic partnership of Izmir Chamber of Commerce, Aegean Exporters Association, İzdoğa, with the session sponsorship of the Izmir Industrialists and Businessmen Association, Izmir Commodity Exchange, Aegean Industrialists and Businessmen Association, and the Union of Chambers of Tradesmen and Craftsmen of Izmir, with the main sponsorship of Çimentaş Group, Aegean Region Chamber of Industry, Aegean Young Businessmen Association, Aegean Free Zone founder and operator, Pınar Vilo Turkey, with the support of Zorlu Holding, with the sponsorship of the Dünya Newspaper Live broadcast, sponsored by Bersay Communication Group Media Relations, and with the press sponsorship of the Gözlem newspaper. Welcome to the fourth day and the seventh session of the fifth Aegean Economic Forum Conference. Before the session, I would like to remind you that simultaneous interpretation is available in our session. Our guests who want to listen to the broadcast completely in English can switch to the YouTube channel of the Aegean Economic Forum. Dear viewers, I would like to briefly share today's program with you. In the meantime, we are going to be talking about our future route end-to-end transformation session. At 1500, under the sponsorship of Aegean Industrialists and Businessmen Association session, it will be detailed how the next generation cities will be for a sustainable life. What kind of a future does the next generation cities concept prepare for? We'll be with you with the panel. The program of the Aegean Economic Forum for today and for tomorrow can be found in the Aegean Economic Forum's social media links. Distinguished guests and participants, for the first session of the Aegean Economic Forum 2021 conference of today, we'll be talking about the future to route end-to-end transformation. To open the session, I would like to invite Mr. Muhsin Dönmez, Aegean Region Chamber of Industry, Deputy Chairman of the Board. I'll leave the floor to you, sir. Thank you very much, Ms. Ebru, distinguished guests and distinguished participants. I would like to greet you all on behalf of the Region Chamber of Industry Deputy of the Chamber of Industry. I would like to thank the Özgence Group and also the Dünya newspaper for their organization. The route for tomorrow, end-to-end transformation, is the opening speech that we're going to be talking about today. We have a limited time, and I would like to share my views with you. Since 2020, as the Aegean Region Industrial Organization, since we are tackling upon Industry 4.0, there's one certain aspect that we constantly underline. We focus on new production trends and new ways of living is right now where the world is going on. So those who cannot abide by it will lose. And the pandemic has speeded up this process, as we all know. This new process has been determined as making everything zero and restart. So this has to be taken in a more considerable way. Of course, change cannot be done in one night, overnight. So of course, we need to follow the pathways that we know very well, but we need to accept that we need to change. During the pandemic, the manufacturing sector has shown their works and were very successful in their performances. However, now we are clearly sure that today we cannot survive in the future with today's processes and procedures. And 99.7% of the SMEs and also the manufacturers are involved in the structure. And in the moment, it is not easy to transform yourself to the new coming trends. And of course, the transformation needs finance. Research and development is very much important to be part of the business way of doing businesses. We need to make an actually mobility about these changes and about actually restructuring ourselves. Taking a look to our world today, in order to be more competitive, the countries are taking serious strategic steps. Our action plans can stay on paper, and our industries can be excluded from the market due to high prices. We cannot change the value and we cannot create a brand. Of course, we have a great infrastructure in Turkey, but we have actually a lower potential in actual transforming. We are negatively distinguished by other parties. And we need to also have a better education, but we are failing in education. Our democratic opportunity window cannot be converted into supply and demand, and the maturity of the industry is 2.5 in Turkey, and the fiber optic infrastructure is not sufficient, which is also creating hardship to connect with the world. The value of foreign exchange and is rising. And if we can understand what's going on, if we accept what we do wrongly, and if we take our steps in quality, and if we educate our young people with a good training, then there is nothing that we cannot succeed, that we can overcome everything, any challenge. I hope that this conference will be interesting and fruitful for each and every one of us. I wish that this conference would be fruitful for all. Thank you. Distinguished Muhsin Dönmez, thank you very much for your contribution. I would like to remind you that during the conference, you can use the hashtag EEF 2021 to send your comments and questions. All your questions and comments can be found on the Junior newspaper, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter channels, and we are expecting your questions and comments. And I would like to invite Mr. Honorable Şeref Oğuz and Professor Dr. Mehmet Akşit, and also Cem Nuri Cömert, and also the CEO of entity Abdülbahri Danışçı. I would like to also invite Mr. Dr. Tarık Güler from the Aegean Free Zone Regional Operator CEO. I also would like to thank Ms. Aylin Tülay Özen, General Director of Doruk. I would like to give the floor to you under the moderation of the Honorable Şeref Oğuz. So we have 90 minutes during the conference. And in the first tour, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, and later on, I want to limit our time of speaking with 5 minutes, so you can actually talk in an optimum way. And what we're going to be talking about is the future route, and we're going to be talking about end-to-end transformation. Transformation is not only been made on digital. There is a transformation of culture, the green, the environmental change, moral change. What is change and what is transformation? Transformation, according to my own definition, for a better future, we need to leave the past behind. It is not denying the past, but leave the past behind so that we can actually put something added upon it. And on this roadmap, we need to walk with new shoes on this pathway. In this transformational road, we are making a lot of financial expenditures. If our mindset cannot be converted into digitalization, then it will be only void. So we cannot survive, we cannot continue, we can only strengthen our primitiveness in some certain areas, but we need to use the digitalization and we need to transform our mindset and put a technology in behind, and I believe that this productivity will rise immediately. And in a talk with Bill Gates a few years ago that I've made, he told me that, of course, computers can be used in your industry everywhere. Of course, it will create a certain amount of productivity, but it will be only limited with 10 to 15%. But first and foremost, you need to change your institution. You need to convert it in digitalization, and you need to come over some certain areas which are not productive any longer. Then if you do this, then your productivity will rise up to 90%. And due to my work, due to my business, I go around Turkey and I go to the operational areas, and I see that Turkey is in between these two. There are those who are accepting the transformation, which is rather right now a necessity. But with what technology can it be made, and with what costs it should be made? There are some certain confusions in the mindset. Of course, there's no there is no standard set about it, but it's quite clear that if you are not changing from end to end, then this digital transformation cannot be proper. And Graham Bell, when he invented telephone, we are the country that has gotten the telephone 5 years later and came to the palace, but it didn't work at all. But in the end, we understood that there was a necessity to buy another telephone, and then it could only work. So with these words, I would like to give the floor to the panelists according to the list given to me. First and foremost, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Professor Dr. Mehmet Akşit. He from the Economic and Technology University of Top, and okay, we will be talking about this main theme about the route for tomorrow, for the future. Yes.
Tamam, şu anda geliyor ses.
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Welcome all. Thank you very much for your invitation. My name is Mehmet Akşit from the Top University. I lived abroad for 47 years, and I have become a professor abroad, and I have been an academician in many countries. The longest time I spent was in the Netherlands. And according to my working style, we worked as, it called us using the industry as a laboratory. And that's the reason why I had the opportunity to work with many big companies in both in Turkey and abroad. And I've been working about some certain abilities, skills, and competencies that can transform that a transformation can be created in a company until 2019. Of course, you do this according to strategic planning and programming. So my screen shares are about all the consultancies that I have been making for many years with certain different companies around the globe. Can we see the presentation? I suppose we see the presentation. Now, as academicians, what is our target? And what is digitalization mean for industry? We know why digitalization is necessary, but apart from end-to-end transformation, I also am going to be talking about continuous transformation. We cannot see the presentations, Mr. Mehmet. You need to share the screen. I thought I shared the screen.
Paylaşmanız lazım Mehmet Bey. Bekliyoruz biz.
Bu niye böyle oldu? Bir saniye, paylaşmamışız demek ki.
Ekran paylaşma yetkiniz var mı? Var.
Var, bir saniye. Böyle.
Evet, geliyor şimdi. Evet, geldi.
Şimdi devam edebilirsiniz.
Evet, kusura bakmayın. Şimdi bu içindekiler konuşmamın içeriği tabii bunu.
So this is my content of my speech. We have the first part of it and the second part. I'd like to say that we as the academicians, what should be our targets? I'm an academician But as I told you, throughout my career, I had the opportunity to work with many big companies, and many products that you are using right now, the systems that I have designed are working. Basically, in most of the products you're using, there are actually products that we have designed. So our target here is what we call as research as business. We need to actually convert the centers as problem-solving areas. I mean that the universities have to be converted itself into a problem-solving space, both in the industry and also the people, the humans. This is the way I approach to this matter. What is the digital transformation on behalf of the industry? But we need to understand here that this is not the question, well, what we can do about the computers. This is not what I am asking. What I'm asking here is the industry needs to create an economic productivity by solving problems on a theoretic basis. The academicians are going to solve the problems, but the academicians don't want to actually create a profit like in the industry, but find out ways to solve the problems, and the industry is going to take it and convert it into an actually economic value. What's the most important thing here? It is to understand what the problem is, what the digital challenge, what the problem is. Of course, we can define it from different aspects. And from my point of view in particular, the approach to strategic targets is important. And on the other hand, we need to check this out from a technical point of view. Of course, there are so many different points of views that we can have from an environmental point of view, from a humanitarian point of view. But due to our expertise, without defining the problem, we cannot solve the problem. We need to understand clearly what the problem is. That's very much important. Unfortunately, we see this. People are talking about quality, but they do not put a criteria. They talk about a solution, but the roadmap for it is not clear. So, okay, there is a solution, but the problem is not clear, for instance. And from this point of view, we need to also understand that the problems are constantly evolved. So, like a human being, they are evolving. A digital transformation or a technological development is evolving constantly. Why do we call this a digital transformation? Roughly to say, it has two aims, goals. One is productivities, making more work with the same finances or making less, or vice versa, or to be more effective, you have to be closer to the target. But in each transformation, there's such an area, there's such an environment that we cannot rewind anything. You cannot return. So it can be disruptive. The existing situation is impacted and it has changed. And that is the reason why it is impossible to change. This is continuous. And of course, what is going to happen in the future then in the cities, where transformation in the cities, smart cities, when we tackle about this matter, there will be a constant development here. And there are two aims of targets of it. It is actually productivity and effectivity. In digital transformation,
you might say that it's not important, it doesn't matter, but then it will be satisfying and pleasing, and then it comes to a certain level as if it's one of the basic needs, and you can't live without that. So I'll just give you some examples about end-to-end continuous transformation. I am working on earthquake management systems. And on the earthquake management systems, as you can see on the left side, there comes the information collection and the damage detection and also situation evaluation. And by the way, on the left side, what you do is something manual, but on the right side, it's partially transformative manual and digital usage at the same time. But still, it does not meet what it is required. So on the right side, we can't say that it is end-to-end transformation. This is half transformation, partial transformation, but this one is end-to-end transformation. This is the definition of the system that we are establishing. So what does it mean? First and foremost, information with respect to earthquake is collected before and after, and with IoT systems, the needs are determined and also the damage is evaluated, and also there is this supportive mechanisms with the computers, and also let's say, God forbid, there is earthquake within just 5 minutes, let's say 10,000 houses are destroyed. We don't want it, of course, but this is the rule of the nature. And within 3 minutes maximum, we have to detect it, we have to report it, and all the resources in the house could be optimized. And by the way, we have a simulation for it. It is the critical performance indicator. And thanks to end-to-end transformation, we can follow the steps. But I mean, it's not possible to compare the manual and the end-to-end transformation. This one has huge advantages for rescuing lives of the people and recovering economy. So this is just an example for end-to-end transformation, but this is not sufficient. Again, I am defining it as continuous transformation. Yes, end-to-end transformation is something required, but maybe we can have this opinion, okay, I transformed it and okay, I can start immediately. No, it's not the case. It must be functional, and procedurally speaking, they have to be always on the side of transformation, continuous transformation. This is what we are working for. This is actually like a loop, like a cycle. And by the way, this could be hierarchical, and on the smaller or some general cycles, you try to enhance this all the time, and you establish some control mechanisms on your softwares and computers. By the way, these are distributed systems. With this machine learning capability, you carry out data analysis, and also with smart control systems, you improve the system all the time. And I'm saying that yes, end-to-end or end continuous transformation could be enabled. By the way, this is done automatically. Yes, I don't know whether I have time, but
Evet,
well,
bizim birinci bölümünü doldurdunuz.
you have already
dakika verebilirim çünkü süre
finished the first part of your time, because we have some other participants donating their time. Okay, I'd like to thank them. So these processes have been applied, and I'm going to show you later on 25 international and also national companies were one of the were some of the parties that we applied this project. And I'll show you maybe at the last part the results of this project. By the way, this is partial English. I'm sorry for this. It is top down, and also it's based on assumptions. So there are certain processes here, and everything that you see here, maybe I'll proceed with other slides and I'll come back to this one. Here comes the initial phase and feasibility analysis, and then implementation and validation phase. So first and foremost, what we see here is that you divide the company into two parts, and these two must be managed parallel to one another. It starts with a general assessment, and you also add quality to that. There is quality control, and this is again top down, and so it has certain processes. This is what I'm saying, and experts must be working on this, and we have applied it to certain companies. And on the left side, you can see technical quality, and on the right side, we can increase the quality of the process. And while we do this, in order to increase the knowledge of the company, we can add training as well. For instance, I prepared this one of the international companies, and this is the presentation that I submitted to them. And we add training to this scheme as well. And this is something that you make a company perfect. I don't want to take much of your time, but I just want to show you one thing. So these are the companies that I worked for enhancements, improvements with respect to digital transformation. And in recent times, as I've been working on Turkish companies, and previously I was working with some companies from Netherlands, and also Ministry of Traffic and Water Management. By the way, tax office was transformed, and I worked about traffic as well. So the thing that I'm doing here is related to this kind of sectors. And of course, there's specialty expertise about this. I have my own methods, and I'd like to thank you very much.
Mehmet Bey, teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you very much, Mehmet Bey. And in the last part, you will have a chance to express your other examples.
Tepeden inme diyeyim de tepeden inme kötü bir kelime.
Actually, when we say sudden and unexpected, rather than top down, maybe everything must be accepted at the top levels and it must be disseminated through the other levels. So certain things were made obligatory due to pandemic. It was not something voluntary, actually. We are forced and obliged to do certain things. And while I was working for Koç Holding, I've seen that if the head of Koç Holding, Ali Bey, accepts certain things, then the rest of it will follow the process. And it happened in the past in Koç Holding. So the transformation codes must be read and understood very well, but at the very top level, this transformation should also be accepted. So for a long time, this IT transformation was only accepted by IT departments. But then after we learned, this is definitely ownership of the company owner. It creates huge difference. I'll give the floor to Mr. Cem, Oracle Cloud Architecture leader. I guess you have a presentation, I think. And I'd like to ask a question about the practicality of the acceptance of end-to-end transformation. Can you please give some examples from your specialty expertise areas? Thank you very much. I'd like to thank everyone who has exerted their efforts in the organization of this conference. And I'd like to thank you very much for your invitation. And I'd like to thank our audience for listening to us. Thank you. I'll share my presentation screen and then I'll immediately start my presentation. Because of my job, I worked for public and private institutions in my own company, and I've been in numerous public and private sector transformation projects. So in my presentation, I'll give you two different aspects. First and foremost, I'll talk about individual and digital reflections over our lives. And in my presentation, I might be uttering certain names of companies, but this is not advertisement. This is just an example. And in the second part, I'd like to mention a few recommendations for the sustaining of this transformation, what to do to make this transformation more permanent. I'd like to give you certain notes of recommendations, and I'll summarize my speech. So in order to maybe express or describe digital transformation, I just wanted to show you this example because we have telephones, smartphones, watches. These kind of devices are very important for our lives. And these devices are very crucial for doing certain things remotely. They are helping us, like getting appointments and asking for services remotely. And these devices are associated with digital transformation as well. But today we are discussing on digital transformation For the company's perspectives, companies try to develop some perspectives. It's a very big enhancement and improvement area. So sometimes we might be carrying those devices on our wrists, pockets, cars, houses. So these are the instruments of the digital transformation, and they are very important for corporate companies to take decisions more properly. And for the public side, maybe these devices might help the agencies to listen to their citizens better and provide services to them accordingly. And I'll try to summarize all these services to you. But first and foremost, I want to give you the definition of transformation from the Turkish language institutions online Turkish dictionary. It says that transforming into something else, getting a different shape, turning into a different status. And it's a reform again. So if you are talking about transformation, thanks to the help of information technologies, certain things could be made possible and realized in different shapes and forms. And I'd like to give you some examples. I believe you will also feel the reflections on your own lives. So individually speaking, on the entertainment world and in the social media, we are watching movies remotely, and we share videos, and in an environment that we share a video, we have followers, and we discuss certain things and we explain certain things. So this communication environment here, even that Zoom platform, is something that we can share some visuals and presentations on an individual level, and this is a final product of digital transformation. Likewise, we take pictures with smartphones, smart devices, and we write certain blogs, and we like certain things, and we do shopping, and we buy tickets. We use everything on transformation, and we can also follow the cargo deliveries remotely. So maybe these are the blessings of digital transformation. But these are some individual examples. And on the corporate life, again, we can see some of the benefits, especially on the state, the government implementations. We have seen many examples like the appointments of the vaccinations and follow-up of the health status. And in the banking sector, we had already used this kind of implementations. We were sending, money and also receiving money. We were checking our bank status, and we were also getting insurance, and we also were on the online examinations. And again, thanks to this kind of platforms, we can be in remote learning spaces and institutions, and with respect to institutions, products, improvements could be made about the needs and the feelings of their customers. And also there is this wearable technologies. It could be also used for the enhancement of the safety in the occupational places, with a watch, with something on your wrist, with your helmet. Everything could be followed, whether you are at a safe place or not. And also, if you carry an international delivery dispatch process, there are some processes that are used to record everything. And in agriculture sector, again, we see digital transformation technology is used immensely. And also, there is this environment protection initiative. Thanks to this awareness with respect to water and air pollution, there are certain applications that enable us to follow the status. So there are some other beautiful sides of it. Robots and drones, for instance, could be used individually, again, just to have some fun for entertainment purposes. And again, in the production line for some institutions, rather than using manpower, robots could be used. We know that it's been used for a long time, and this transformation, digital transformation that we talk here, has certain repercussions over our daily lives. We always want to be online all the time, and we want to do certain things by ourselves. We don't want any help. Just through a click, by just clicking and touching on a screen, we want to get use of the benefits of digital transformation. And we want it whenever we want that thing, and we want it to happen after just demanding it. And also there must be a socialization ecosystem behind all these instruments. We want to talk. We want to say whether we are content, pleased, satisfied. We also want to communicate our new demands, and we want to do everything on a real-time basis. This is what we want. And everything that I've touched upon are the reflections of digital transformation, and maybe we can see certain technological terminologies. So I am much familiar and closer to technicality among our panelists. That's why I just wanted to use this visual to you. So we are talking about Industry 4.0. And for a long time, Industry 4.0 has been utilized thanks to the help of the computer technologies. And Industry 4.0 has been used as certain systems that are much easily traceable. But 5G, again, is something which is beyond GPS, which shows us where we are located on the Earth. And there are certain sensors, for instance, used using this 5G in some factories, following the processes, and we can also use artificial intelligence, and we can use certain machine learning. So they are again used for decision-taking processes, and these are some indispensable parts of our lives. And at the last part, I just want to again share some of my experience with you. Mainly,
kurumlarda teknik ekipler oluyorlar.
Technical teams are the founders of transformation in the companies, but it must be supported. So the real sponsors supporting this transformation comes from the business units. So if on a customer portal there are certain customer claims and customer complaints, it could only be clustered and classified by this technical team. But the real thing here is that the business unit producing those products should analyze and understand those claims and comments. So business units take the ownership for this data or text analysis projects. So all in all, top management should assume the benefits of this transformation. If they can understand the benefits of transformation for they support their citizens and customers, I believe this support towards these projects could be higher. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm checking my sound. Okay. We've discussed data too much, and this is said that in 2030, there is going to be 30 zettabyte information will have been produced, and there will be 30 billion artificial things, including human beings. And now I'll give the floor to Dr. Bahri Danish. But this is what I'm wondering. In the past, especially when on the customer relations, we have this AHI community. And according to that community's understanding, customer is the king and the queen. Yes, of course, blessing comes from God, but our customers are the real king and queens for us, and we have to be taking care of them.
Müşteri artık bizim veri nimetimiz. Eğer o veriyi bize veriyorsa çok daha farklı bir ortaklık da bize sunuyor demektir. Ama sorun bunu nasıl yöneteceğin, istismar etmeyeceğin, bunun etiğiyle
But of
beraber
course, the data, to use it and how to actually process it and how to think about the ethical things and how to actually enrich it are the most important things here. And I would like to give the floor to Dr. Abdulbari Danish, Entity Data Business Solutions CEO of Turkey and ME and MENA. The floor is yours. Mr. Sherif, thank you so much. Actually, we just started from such a place that the main hero here is the customer, the client. So you were talking about the Ottoman Empire, but even though we go back only 20, 30 years ago, the concept of customers 20, 30 years ago is no longer the same. My 13-year-old son is also a customer right now, and he doesn't want to wait. They want everything at the time, immediately, with the incredible speed and agility. And they change it constantly and immediately. If they cannot actually reach to the speed they are seeking for or the quality they're seeking for, they immediately change. As I told you before, these digital transformation, AIs and blockchains, they are constantly been debated everywhere in the magazines and also in television, everywhere. In each activity or each conference that we're in, we're talking about it. But the main reason is due to the fact that the customer is looking for this. But during the pandemic, there has been a great amount of a change in this. In the past years, we had the Y, X generation, the Z generation is different. The Alpha is arriving right now. But after the pandemic, independent from age, a new customer school realized a very new operation of customs have occurred, independent from the age, I said, because during the pandemic, we've seen that grandmothers, grandfathers, moms, and dads, they all were making online shopping. And with one certain click, there is a speed, there's a process that has been triggered in the background. So this speed, the search for this flexibility, for instance, in the past, when we were making shopping, when we were comparing the prices, we either knew it from the purchases that our relatives or friends were doing, or from the stores. We were on the streets or in the shopping malls, so we were making comparisons in these shopping areas. So even in store, the customer is checking out, well, I'm going to buy it from the store, but is it a real price? Can I find it cheaper, etc. So this is not only the B2C companies that are affected, that also the suppliers, the manufacturers, and their processes have to change. So does this transformation have to come from deep down or from top to down? But now actually it is right now the clients who are persuading the CEO. Those who are not persuaded will not be any longer a player. So digital transformation on the other side is that so many companies are making IT projects. And you know that nothing is any longer an IT project anymore. Today, we are talking about the work process projects. When we talk about digital transformation, on the other side, is not a regular IT project. For instance, you are making a technological project to make a change in your company. It's not a digitalization. It can be called a digitalization, but we cannot regard it as a digital transformation. What we understand from it is a business way of doing business is changing from root to top, and for that, they are projects where you use technology. And all of these AIs, the blockchains, Internet of Things are constantly been debated, but this has right now become a commodity. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when we talk about machine learning, it was not easy to understand it, to develop it. They were really big things to do. But now these are all services. And SAP, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, all of these services can be purchased easily and consumed. The only problem right now is that these services, by using these problems, what challenges are going to solve? What are you going to, how are you going to be different? What type of a change in business are you going to make? And that's the reason why the process information, the sectoral information has right now totally been changed and become quite dominant. And all of the transformational issues and all the technological different changes and acts is upon how you are going to change. What changes are you going to do? Pre-pandemic and since a few years, we are constantly talking about agile project management. Agile is everywhere. We definitely realize what agility really means, because agility means not only being fast. It's not only about your own processes. Technology in all of these areas, in all of these processes, is actually the basis of becoming productive. No company any longer, while changing their way of doing business, cannot change or cannot decide any longer without technology. That's the reason why these are really exciting times. Hopefully in the second round, I'm going to be talking about where we are in Turkey. But as I told you, the customer has changed. And now a new, different generation, independent of age, is now available with the manufacturer, the supplier, with the end points from A to Z. We need to actually accept these rules and implement them. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulbari. Now, what you say reminded me of the ancient Chinese culture. It is said that hopefully that God makes you live in times of change, because there is no assurance, no guarantee at all of the people, because all your paradigms can change immediately. For instance, when the press came, with everything did change later on. And not only did we're talking about, of course, changes in our way of doing business. But before I pass the question to our next speaker, you were talking about business processes, but life showed us, particularly those who are in area spaces where technology is now the focus, brings up also different changes. 150 years ago, during the Victorian age, telegram was also the internet at that time. It was for the first time faster than human information was going all around the world. Telegram just did it immediately. But now we have computers, and with communication right now, the process, there are 4 areas that need to be processed, like the business ways of doing business. These processes have to be set aside, and the process of communication can create a great amount of profit, of course, but on the other hand, it also can create a disruption. Relations as well as the third one, and fourth one, information processes. So when we bring them all together, then only then can you talk about a digital transformation and end-to-end transformation. And while doing all of this, of course, the organization is also as much as important as technology. And is here we come to the companies that provide these issues to us. And now I would like to give the floor to, in particularly, to Mr. Dr. Faruk Gülay, the CEO of the Aegean Free Zone Document Establisher. The floor is yours. Thank you very much, Mr. Sherif. And I also would like to thank AEF and also the Özgancı Group for preparing such a wonderful program. Yes, indeed, we are doing a different kind of a job. We both are manufacturers because to 22,000 people, 4 times a day, we are cooking. And in the 2.5 million square meter of an area, all the municipality services are made. And on the other side, we are also following kindergartens, and we also have an establishment as a space camp in Izmir. So, so that I can explain this change, I'd like to say 2 words, because in change, when we talk about change, we need to transform, of course. What are we doing? To what kind of space do we give service to? Now here, in our business, we have a $4 billion of a trade volume, and $2 billion of this has been exported, and that is the reason why. Taking a look to this exportation in Turkey, it is a total. It is actually a volume that equals to 41 provinces in Turkey. If we take a look to this matter as a province, we are the 11th. It is as large as the 11th province that is making export. And just if we talk about all the exportation of Izmir, it is at about 20% of an exportation, and it is 11% of the Aegean region as for exports. And apart from this, there are such companies that are creating a high tech. The products of the products has a value of $8.9 per unit. In Germany, it is at about $3.5. So that's to say, Turkey has a 7-fold more of a product value as a potential, and even though 3 times more than Germany. What does that mean? That means that the companies here have high-tech infrastructures, creating their own values. That's the reason why they wish to change and transform, also create their surrounding to change. I'd like to talk about 2 things. And the first one is, in order to have transformation, the units, the departments should want it. We said that the customers are asking for many things. Yes, true. This is the same thing in our business as well. But nature does want something from you as well, because if not, then it disrupts. If we cannot today immediately respond to the customer at the time they are looking for, nature is leaving us as well. We as Esbaş, we are changing, because when we have been founded 32 years ago, all the plans and steps that have been taken has always been developed. If we were at the wrong place at that period of time, even transformation wouldn't save us. 32 years ago, in this industrial area, only 1/4 of that space could we do any premises at all, and we are still continuing this decision. If we wouldn't have done it, then everything, then everybody who would actually get in here, then we couldn't actually create this this environment. We were always loyal to our principles, and we always have developed ourselves that would serve to nature. We weren't fixed, we didn't transform, but we changed. How did we change in the last years? Now we have started new projects which can also be exemplary for the municipality. What's actually we have started a landscape and a draft landscape project, because you can actually save water in that case, what we call xeriscaping. And in order to do that, we have decided to actually think about the environment and how drought can occur. And that's the reason why we created xeriscaping. So we, if we are the ones that first of all made this, the system, and if we have still the voice, then it's really hard to change the system. Hence the case, change is definitely has to start from the people, from the superiors.
Bunu aşağıya yaymak mümkün değil. İnanç varsa yukarıdan aşağıya
doğru. So this proprietaries, the stakeholders are very much important. If they change, then the whole system can change. If they reject to change, then the company cannot change at all. So for 9 years, we have initiated this program, and with this program, a few years ago, we started to read what AI is, etc., and we were talking about what would happen in the future, and we were talking about Internet of Things, and we worked on it and thought about it. We took a look to our in-house operations in our transformational projects since 9 years, that AI right now can be used in the service sector, in the production sector, and we are using also the Internet of Things. If not, if we couldn't start it 9 years ago, then we would only hear it from television or from our daily lives, but we have initiated this process in such a way that today we are making the menu design today with the AI right now. And since my time is limited, I would like to give the floor to you, and in the second round I'm going to be talking about what we are going to do next. Thank you very much, Ms. Well, I would like to emphasize what words that you said. We shouldn't only talk about digitalization transformation. You have wonderfully actually signed and emphasized the difference between transformation and change. If the people, the stakeholders, if they do not want to change, if they resist it, then that transformational programs never occur. So the 90s, as you remember, these were lost years. The inflation was very high in those years, and the kids were actually privatized. It was one of the most important things for us. The general directors of kids were given the duty to transform, and the general directors brought up many different types of resistances. Then they talked about the ecosystem. The problem of the ecosystem is that those who were managing it they didn't want to actually leave their tables, leave their chairs, and that is the reason why has become not an eco change but an ego situational process. And sometimes it happens to be that your customers, with one single click, can just leave you if you do not abide by today's rules, because electrons are taking a journey, traveling within a light speed, as you know. This is the way our customers are acting now. That's the reason why if you do resist, then you cannot create a benefit. Comfort can rot people. If you do not want to get rotten, then you need to actually start changing. And I would like to give the floor to Mr. Mehmet Ali Kasalı.
Organizasyon konusunda sizin karşılaştığınız pratik faydaları ve pratik tehditleri sorarak
So what are some dangers and opportunities that you have encountered? I'd like to give the floor to you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Batı Anadolu Sanayici ve İş Adamları Dernekleri Federasyon Başkanı olarak bütün
As the
saygıyla selam.
Western Anatolian Industrialists Association Executive Board Manager, I'd like to extend my salutations to all of you. And I'd like to thank AEF for providing us this platform. I'm really happy to be a member of this platform. First and foremost, I'd like to thank AEF, Aegean Development Forum Foundation, and also I'd like to thank Özgencik Group for their invitation. I am among the very valuable speakers today, and I'm sure that there are many things that I can learn from this platform. And I'm really happy to be with you here once again.
Batı Anadolu Sanayici ve İş Adamları Dernekleri Federasyonu Basibedi temsilen katıldığım bu toplantıda
in this meeting, which I represent our federation, first and foremost, I'd like to share certain members to us: TÜSİAD, İSİAD, Egeat, İZİKAD, EGOT, USAD, and some of other associations. We have 12 business persons associations. And some of the members of ours, by the way, are the organizers of this forum. And of course, this is something that we are very proud of.
Daha önceki gibi şimdi de gelen aşağı yukarı durumun Batı tane başlığı vardı. Ve dolayısıyla bir sesim gidiyor mu acaba?
Can you hear me? There are certain interruptions. I guess it's because of your internet connection, but we can understand you. You can continue. I'd like to thank you very much. There are 6 different titles that I'm going to mention. And AEF is our coordinator, by the way. And of course, we wanted to have a perspective from Aegean region, and I chose this concept for providing the perspective from Aegean region because we are the federation of the region. And like it has been mentioned, I'll give you the perspective of Aegean region and also some of the effects of these developments over Aegean region. Towards the end of 20th century, information era has much improved, and also internet has disseminated immensely. And no matter what we name that, we know that a new era has started. And the status of the technology of today is very well appreciated by everyone. And I'd like to divide societies into 2 groups: the one who make technology, the ones who import the technology. So we have to switch from importing to making. We have the dream of 30 years. We want Urla and İzmir to be centers of technology, and in Urla, İzmir Technology Institute establishment was decided, and I think that establishment is something very precious for our country. İzmir has very qualified human resources, and Izmir is one of the very old and ancient port centers and port cities of Aegean region. It has different technoparks, 4 different technoparks and 30 design centers. So with its infrastructure, I believe Izmir is the correct choice, and it's going to go beyond the expectations. And big actors on the global chain will come to Izmir, and I believe their investments will have even multiplying effects so that all the shortcomings and lacking points of the region will be compensated. However, there are certain things that I think very important. Izmir technology base was established and it was formed as a secondary valley of IT. It was Gebze IT base, and there are 2 different institutions that we can talk about. And so, by the way, the members of this Gebze technology base are some of the bureaucrats and professors from Kocaeli region. I'd like to give their names. Nail Çiler, Ayhan Zeytinoğlu. So some of them are the mayors and the industry chamber heads. So as you can see, Izmir's technology base unfortunately is not represented by Izmir people. So in the executive board of this technology institute base, we have different places representatives. So in the executive board and the management level, there must be some people from Izmir. I believe it's going to provide a better structure to our base. And SMEs and robots are going to be gathered together. This is one of the titles of our session. And it is an indispensable for catching up with the changes in Industry 4.0, because a robot number per 10,000 employees is approximately 100. But in Turkey, this figure is like 30, 35. So compared to world, in Turkey, the use of robots is like 1/3 of the other countries. And majority of the production in our country is made by SMEs. So if we really want to talk about transformation, SMEs must be included to the process. And only quality automation can enable the future prosperity level increase. And pandemic has once again reminded of us this thing. World has already realized that, and since that moment, digital wars have taken place on robotic technologies. For instance, China has acquired the biggest robot production company of Germany, but in the United States, those companies' functions are not allowed. And there are certain barriers for SMEs to have an access to SMEs. And first and foremost, we can see finance is the biggest obstacle. And secondly, qualified employees are lacking for the use of robots. So I think the most important problem of our lives I guess there is a problem with the sound of Mehmet Ali Kasalı. That's why we couldn't hear the sentence. So till we eliminate this problem, maybe we can continue with other speakers because of the time limitation of the panel. So everything that we discuss here, there lies the smart transformation and timely transformation with the correct proportion, maybe correct ratio. So I'll give the floor to Aylin Tülay Özgen. How to manage these processes all together? What can you say? What are the things that you'd like to give to us when it comes to end-to-end transformation, the world of the future? What can you say? Thank you very much. Thank you. I guess
Yok,
you
yok,
can
sesini
hear
çok
me.
duyuyoruz.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, you are not unmuted. We can hear you. I'll directly share my screen so that we can use our time more efficiently. I think you can hear my screen, right? You can see my screen, right? Yes. Yes. Okay. Very well. Presentations have been submitted. My name is Aylin Tülay Özden. I'm a control and computer engineer, and we have ProManage International Company. We have a history of 23 years, and in the last 23 years, we have been helping industry companies for digital transformation projects. And under the light of all the previous speeches, I'd like to talk about digitalization, digital transformation, and cultural transformation. And I'd like to give you the engineering perspective because we have academicians with us today. So I'd like to give you more technical and more on-site related presentation. And previously, Mehmet Bey was talking about the purposes. So what is the purpose? And the digitalization, academics, universities can help industrialists, but the most important thing is that we need to know the requirements of the companies that are going to be transformed. We have to be pioneers on the digitalization because all the companies want to be at the more profitable side with digitalization. And I believe digitalization can serve for higher profitability rates. And there are 4 factors affecting digitalization and profitability. First and foremost, product could be designed in a better way. You can have more innovative designs, and also you can have more appropriate designs for the market. And from order to dispatch, all the processes of the market, all these steps must be revised based on the need of the customers, and there must be transformation and change in this step as well. And when it is about a factory, this is what we are talking about right now as well, it must be efficient, productive, and it should be working on a low-cost base, and it must be agile. And among all these, we should have certain digitalization units in the company. So the design of the product is something which should not be skipped at all. And also on the factory side, R&D, investments, robotics, and new machine acquisitions. This is very crucial as well. But no matter what you do for digitalization, unless you change your products and the way that you do your job, you can't get any benefit out of your digitalization steps. So how do we help the industries? So actually, transformation is cultural, and the most innovative transfer device you might have, like an aircraft or bus, it doesn't matter. It gives you the results based on the way that you use them. So today, many companies are reactive. So what does reactive mean? They do not trace back themselves. They do not audit themselves because they don't have data to audit themselves, to see themselves, and they can't analyze themselves. Whenever there comes problems, they, of course, solve the problems. Is it profitable? Yes, partially speaking, it is profitable, but it is based on human power with the certain means that they have. They do their best. But what does cultural transformation say to us? Companies should be proactive. Now, what is proactive? What does transformation can give to this proactive business management? So if you're proactive, then you are agile and you can take decisions beforehand. So how can you do this? You need to collect data with IoT, and you need to be tracing yourselves. You should be carrying out analysis, and you need to have some methodological enhancements. So PUCO cycles must be utilized. This is a cultural transformation, actually. Even though you just acquire digital transformation, unless you function as PUCO enhancements, nothing is going to change for your lives. You will be just staying where you are. So if you can do this, you can be fast, swift, agile, and resilient. So what is the next step? If you can't solve certain bottlenecks with being proactive, you can get help with agility, artificial intelligence, and maybe in the first step, you can't be investing on artificial intelligence. First and foremost, you have to be proactive. After that, if you can't solve certain bottlenecks, then you need to be predictive, and then you need to be using some autonomous ways of using your factories, like dark factories. But on our way to go towards digital transformation, for dark factories, you have to be much more active on the previous steps. So on the automation, by the way, I have already made my master degrees in Istanbul Technical University in automation systems. I can tell you that this concept is very crucial for the transformation. All the processes, by the way, it could be applied to every kind of companies. So with the compromise of the people in the production and the factory, certain purposes could be realized. But how does automation change the process? Factory is again at the very core, but we can collect data like IoT data, customer data, and environmental data, and then it is used for refeeding purposes. Then the discrepancies are determined, PUCO cycles are applied, and then controlling, commanding a company much more productively, efficiently based on processes could be added. Maybe this is the same factory, this is the same production line, but there comes a cultural transformation. It is given feedback from the situation, and based on that, on a closed cycle, some commanding functions could also be applied, like software, CAD/CAM solutions, and artificial intelligence algorithms. These are all on the remote controlling activities. It's not about collecting IoT data. You have to have certain culture which can function that. We need to have the revision and cultural transformation. All the industrialists and all the companies should have that. So at the very end, if you want to be pioneer in the competition, then we need to be starting very well on our processes. So what is the result? I'd like to give you an example. Let's say on a shift, there is this production, but there is a supervisor. What is the task of the supervisor? Let's say for 3 hours, he tries to get information manually. This is tried to be done. So it takes 3 hours, and manually problems are being analyzed. And in the last 1.5 hours, this is controlled, and this is again something that he tries to improve or correct, and at the very end it is very difficult for them to reach the competitive advantage and efficiency. But when you are proactive, I'm just switching from before to after, if you can get benefit from digital instruments with the IoT, with data collection, by getting feedback, then your burden of work can be decreased by 50%. And problem analysis time, also that duration could be reduced because everything is done by digital instruments. They are based on data. Accurate, fast analysis could be made automatically, and managers of production can enhance the business results with plan, correct, enhance steps. So at the very end, they have much more time compared to previous processes. So here there is 3 times more time for enhancing the processes compared to the manual work. So when the industrialists are proactive, blue collar, white collar doesn't matter in the company. Everyone works under a system, and at the very end, cultural transformation is triggered, and then it is started with a supervision. Of course, the results are shared on a real-time basis on the online platforms, and everyone can see their situation and they can do their job more productively and efficiently. Another example, this is again another case study. So here the equivalent productivity rate per hour increases by 3 times here, as you can see. The results are 1.5 times increases. The personnel expenditure is the same, general expenses are the same, energy consumption is the same, the number of the machineries, etc. Everything is the same, but here at the end of the production, you can get 1.5 times higher efficiency, and it leads higher profitability, and profit margin increases and cost per unit decreases, and they can be at the advantageous situation competitively. And as we have stated beforehand, when we are talking about an industrial company, a commercial company having the competitive advantage can also enable their other strategic operations more successfully. So there are some other steps like AI and machine learning, deep learning, and they could also be going beyond just being proactive. And certain robots can also make people take predictive maintenance precautions, and also computer vision algorithms could also be used on the manual lines, on the repair stations. They can collect data, and also they can lead people working on the factory, and the ones who are experienced, the blue collar people, can also be supported with many instruments. And now I'm concluding my speech. Thank you very much.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Süreye de inanılmaz bir...
Thank you very much, Mr. Sherif. Well, I'm ready. If we continue to the second round, would you please give me the floor? Yes, of course, there have been some technical problems. The TV broadcasts are generally been made from Skype, and some certain times it can happen problems from headphones or from the lines, from the... Unfortunately, we are all in different locations, and this is also very practical and quite superior in many ways. But technical problems may occur. Mr. Mehmet Ali, would you please complete your words, and then in the second round we will begin again. Mr. Mehmet, I thank you very much, and I would like to apologize. I have come to the ASEA's office. Unfortunately, even here, this can occur, even though we have a good line here. I was talking about robot technologies, and I can't quite remember where I had the technical problem, but let me start here. I said that the robot technology, of course, necessitates qualified staff. And within this context, in all of the areas, we have a very important issue. According to TÜİK, the unemployment is 11%, and even though in the young people, amongst unemployed young people, the amount is more than 30%. So that is the reason why, in order to we need to actually rearrange the new employment issues according to the new changes. For instance, in our universities, we can actually start up departments for robotic technologies. This is also one of the biggest problems that we're facing. And distinguished participants, and right now, there's also one other important issue, the supply chain issue. How can Turkey actually be leading here? Let me talk a little bit about Turkey. So on April and on May, there has been the COVID-19 impacts in the business world. Research has been made, and according to the research, the supply chains have received a great amount of a negative impact, and 86% of the companies have been negatively impacted due to the pandemic. And taking a look to the effect of the pandemic on the supply chains, the supply chains have been on average at about 20%, and those who haven't been impacted was at about 40%. And due to COVID, 40% of the companies did have problems with reaching to raw materials, and there was also an increase of the production cost. On the other hand, there was also the business force problems. And when we take a look to the problem, yes, it's challenging, but it is not worse than the average of the globe. It's even better sometimes, according to some certain countries. So I believe that Turkey is going to overcome these problems and will come to a certain balance. And due to some certain advantages, it can convert these hardships to positive aspects. And an internal market dynamism and industrial quality Industry 4.0 was not reached yet, but at least we are good at Industry 3.0. And the delivery times is very much important in the world, and that is the reason why Turkey and Izmir is in a very strategic point within this context. But apart from, in order to actually convert everything to an advantage, the precondition is to overcome the negative approach of the democratization and also legal issues in Turkey. We are now in the gray line of the list. So in order to overcome this, we need to take better steps for this. Turkey can become a supply and logistics hub. And we need to complete all the studies about this. So we need to rehabilitate the harbors, the ports. The freight and the ports have to be combined together for the integration of the port and also for the freight and the connection area. Logistic villages should be made. And much more important than that, there was a problem of vessel freight indeed. And that is the reason why we need to promote our local maritime freights and to invest in it. And I would like to thank you on behalf of the Basifet family, and I would like to apologize about all the problems that occurred during my speech. Thank you very much. Of course, this can happen anytime, anywhere. So we are passing on to the last part. We have already completed 90 minutes, and I will give you. I'm not talking that maybe. I'm not asking for the last words from you, but maybe if there are anything that you would like to add in the second third, I would give you the floor to you. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Mehmet Akşit. Maybe you can also complete your presentation and you can make your give your additional thoughts about this matter. Microphone, please.
Alo.
Yes. We can hear you. And now, if I briefly have to say, actually, as Ms. Aydin has wonderfully explained, summarized on how a company can have different types of life spans. I just want to define it with my own terminology. The end-to-end transformation is seen here on this paper. It is a transformation in an earthquake, and I added up that there is a necessity to have a continuous transformation with certain control systems, and these control systems have to measure everything and also make the necessary improvements about that. Not as a block, but as for side blocks, we can actually add them all up together, which I believe is very much important. Feedback control is definitely necessary in general. I call it from up to down way of an approach. When we go from up to down approach, if this doesn't convert into a natural data, if this transformation doesn't convert itself into a natural data, then it won't be really effective. What we need to do here is, in time, we need to go forward to a natural data. And for that, as I told you before, when we have made some certain applications about this, and we have seen some certain processes of this. In the top-to-down approach, you can say that you can actually make changes in a technical point of view. You can make a technical assessment. Now, a very complex system can be separated into different parts, and this is also separated into two. It is about to ease the processes. And Ms. Aydin has said that some certain evolutions or in the end, we become indeed autonomous, Hence the case, they can be related with each other if it can be done with a training activity. So from up to down, you need to have a will for to do that. But for that, definitely has to have a natural data that has to convert to a natural data. In the beginning, there won't be a data naturally, but in time, this has to convert itself into a natural data. Yes, as I show here, the technical improvement, the process quality improvement is necessary, but depending on the company's strategic planning, it has to actually match with the company's excellency program. What does a company want? Where do they want to reach? Or if they want to be proactive and just in supporting its prediction, we call this a company's evolution, because the company has to follow different types of level steps, as Ms. Aydin has said. Now, in the yellow part, it is clearly stated to say that in the strategic, the company has to have a strategic target. It has to be provided. Proactivity is necessary. For productivity, we need to go to prediction. And in the gray areas are the excellency levels of the company. We are measuring it, and of course, information management is also very much important. And as a result of this, you produce data, and all the data that you combine, you convert yourself into a agile mechanism. This is what I want to say here. And what I say here in the beginning, in general, from top to down, has to depend on the natural data. When you do it this way, then you can be successful. It is a total issue, as you can see here. In the end, of course, they are also working in parallel. But in order to be agile, knowledge compilation is very much important. You need to manage your processes. The strategic goals of the company has to be based upon this. And for that, training and information exchange is necessary. And of course, the quality of the product, they all have, as you can see in all these columns, have to work together in combination. As a result of this, if you cannot reach provided, then there would be something lagging behind and with missing. So I agree to the fact of what Ms. Aydin has said, and I believe that this is a good implementation plan as a result of this. Mr. Cem Nuri Cömert, what would you like to add? Thank you very much. And if you allow me, I want to talk a little bit about the future, and then I'm going to complete my presentation. Well, let's buy a few computers that make software. Let's have algorithms of AI, and let's transform them. Unfortunately, that is not possible. And mostly, all of our presenters today were talking about how to make that transformation. Without that change of mindsets, without changing the method of doing business, unfortunately, the numeric transformation cannot be achieved. That is the first thing that we need to initiate. And in the communication and the changes in communication and energy technologies are going to bring us forward, I suppose, personally. This is my opinion, and particularly in the communication networks like LoRaWAN technologies. If we want a numeric transformation in agriculture, for instance, if you want radio signals, if we put sensors, and if the sensors have to also support the Internet of Things, perhaps. This is what we need to think about. And alternative energy sources have to be used for a more greener IT. Cybersecurity is very much important indeed, and everything is going to be converted into a numeric value. But of course, on the other hand, it can be a weak link as well. The cryptology technologies where the data is brought and then put into a storage. The authentication, etc., are very much important in that case. So we need to be tackling about cyber security, robotic and artificial intelligence, and autonomous machines. So what do we want to do about this? For instance, you see it also in a telephone commercial. It's actually taking better pictures by using AI, but for the corporations, it is also very much important why we use the AI in industry, in agriculture. Do you use it to actually create a better human effort here? Where are we going to use the AI? Where are we going to estimate any kind of downtime, or if we are going to estimate a breakdown in the machine? So and for human resources, for instance, if you're going to find new employees, AI can be helpful here, and robotics is a very nice subject, and I follow the Boston Dynamics video posts. There are dogs and there are also robots that are like soldiers, and the robotic technologies, in particular in the developed countries where the population graph is elder, brings up the case that AI is generally, and robotic technology is going to be used generally in the health sector. So that is the reason why we need to support it with software as well. We have enterprises that are really powerful. For instance, a telecommunication company can have a team of in developing softwares, but those who do not have the power, then they have to be actually supported in the technoparks. For instance, there are different types of solutions here, and with the support, they can actually bring up different types of solutions to smaller enterprises. And not everybody can buy everything from the start. Of course, you need to have a capital investment to do that, and operational, in order to overcome the operational problems, we need to find some infrastructures for this, and cloud technology can be used in this manner, and the cloud technology can be used for also the transformation in numeric transformation. Before I give the floor to Mr. Abdulbari Danish, I was a speaker in Aselsan, and I gave an example, as you said, the Boston Dynamics. As you can remember, the first robot that they have made was a mule, and people were actually hitting on it, and later on they were dogs, and then we have robots and soldiers where these weapons are also given to them, and later on we will start, maybe we will be having a robotic soldiers army later on, and that will definitely be less triumphant for different parts of the world. So we need to really follow all the breakdowns here. The English Minister of Defense has said on 2030, whatever that year is, it becomes really an important milestone. On 2030, 30,000 robotic soldiers are going to be taken into the army. And as for the DARCO projects, again, a robotic soldier army is also going to be used in different in land forces and marine forces, and also in the air forces. So not only do we see them in the companies, but it is also very much important in the defense of countries as well. Before I give the floor to Mr. Abdulbari Danish, well, our blockchain and RPI technologies, and how does it actually give the how are we actually prepared to digital transformation, and what is the share of technology in the capitals of countries of companies?
Aslında bizi şu anda izleyen pek çok patron var. Ne bileyim işte bilgi işlemde çalışan, satın almada insan.
Thank you very much. There are many people right now watching us, working on the production and maybe on the procurement we're talking about digital transformation and artificial intelligence, blockchain, but how to do this job, how I should walk on this path. Maybe I can answer to these questions, and maybe I can also talk about the developments on the region. So this is very much related to our own history. As Entity Data, we are a Japanese company. Our center is located in Tokyo, and we are the biggest, sixth second biggest company in the world. And each and every year, only $3.5 billion is allocated to R&D investments. And we came to Turkey in 2012. It was only 100 people, but right now there are more than 1,500 consultants and consultees. And I was talking about including new graduates to our business, and more than 1,000 graduates were just this year accepted to our body. And Turkey is trying to be among one of these, is going to be one of those countries involving the digital transformation. Prior to that, in the past, we were only talking about this kind of projects with big companies who could really invest money, who had really big sum of money and big HR range. But today, the picture has totally changed. In the past, you had to spend $1 million of money, and you needed to at least spend 2 or 3 years. But today, right now, you can talk about this project with SMEs and companies who have the vision to be opening up to other countries. Each and every month, it's like something that you can pay as if you are paying rentals. Within 3 to 6 months of periods, you can conduct your projects. In the past, we were very much proud of carrying out Turkey's pillar of international multinational companies projects in Turkey. We were very much proud of saying that, yes, the Turkish pillar of this company project was made by us. But right now, we can have a project in Izmir, and we can also show it as an example to Norway, or Sweden. And today we can also show some IoT and artificial intelligence projects in the USA, or else in Denizli, Menderes. We can also talk about certain projects that we have made for the first time. We can talk about our projects to the world. So I'm really happy, and I'm very hopeful for the future. So hop on this train. What should companies do? In the past, it was longer. It was like writing all the processes and thinking of all those steps one by one. But I think we are very much away from these processes, because technology enables us to do many things easier and faster. So with the great examples in the world and with the great examples in Turkey, I can tell you that we are just having a roadmap together. And companies cannot take decisions for 2 years from now, because it's not possible to forecast 2 years results in terms of technology, in terms of business. And pandemic maybe made us understand this very well. And maybe this story has become much more visible thanks to the pandemic effect. So my recommendation is that, so there is a problem about the connection, I guess. Unfortunately, there is a problem. Okay, he is coming back. So companies should be dreaming of their future. I guess there are certain interruptions, but your examples that you have given, I really would like to share them in different platforms. You have said it very well, because in the past, big corporations, like in my example also, I do the same thing. Between 2000 and 2003, I was involved in Koç Holding transformation, but right now, even in the small, tiny parts, these things could be disseminated. And also, this flow, this trend just became the reverse right now. From here to other countries, we can also talk about some developments, and we can give great examples to other people who would like to work in these areas. They are given this support and they could feel much more courageous. And I'll give the floor to Faruk Güler. Yes, the floor is yours. This is your time just to conclude your speech. Thank you so much. Thank you. So from end-to-end transformation,
Ancak mental ve kültürel değişimle mümkün olur.
we need mental and cultural transformation. It is only possible in that way. I'm not going to talk about mental transformation of Turkey and other countries in the world. Of course, this is very crucial, but first and foremost, we try to do this within our own company. And at this very point today, our motto is to take a new step each and every day on our path to excellence, because we were also given the award of excellence of Kalder. For that reason, we'd like to use that motto, and it's a never-ending journey. And maybe digital transformation could be used as an instrument for this never-ending journey. But again, it is only possible with the transformation of employees, humans in general, and the leaders of the company. This transformation is very crucial, and here we need to get use of the digital means and possibilities. And as ESBAŞ, we say that we need to apply what we have done in other places. For that reason, in Bergamo, we are going to have a new free industrial zone, and it's going to be much more accessible. This is very crucial. It's not about only land transportation accessibility or airway transportation accessibility. The most important thing is internet accessibility. So infrastructure is going to be very solid and robust. And of course, it has also been uttered here. Cloud technologies must be used better in this perspective. But beyond all this, we have to be protecting our world, because climate change is affecting all of us. And digital transformation is again very crucial here, but our perspective towards environment and world, especially industries' effect over the environment, should be thought once again. I'm not saying we should minimize the effects over the environment. We should eliminate. We need to take every possible precaution to eliminate those possible effects over the environment. Our region, our country is located in a very special geography, so we need to correct what we have done, and we need to hand over our country to next generations in a better shape. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Faruk Bey. Now, our last speaker, and by the way, we have already come to the end of our session. We have already exceeded the time that is allocated to us. And I'd like to ask a question to Aylin Tülay Özden, and I'll give the floor to you by asking this question. Selahattin İpek asks you that. We are talking about transformation by improving by changing. We are talking about dark factories, but I believe that intensity on the population, increase on the population, and need of employment will force us to find some new solutions. What is the place of artificial intelligence in the future? Because robots are going to be autonomous and they're going to take decisions by themselves. So how is it placed on our futuristic perspectives? I can answer to this question. Artificial Intelligence Foundation was also founded 30 years ago, and artificial intelligence talent is limited to the organic intelligence edges. So organic intelligence will also determine the limitations of the artificial intelligence. So the floor is yours, and maybe you can end this session with your words. Thank you very much. I guess you can hear me. The question is very nice, and your additional comment is also very nice. So in this respect, I can tell you that I have some articles on certain magazines, and I have some interviews with certain industrials and business people. The question is quite nice, and I'd like to answer to that. The new generation is already digital. They are very much adapted to everything much faster and easily. And they are going to change the way that we do our business with these digital instruments, and they're going to take everything to a different place. But the factories have difficulties in finding an employee to employ. There is this problem of qualified labor force. Actually, it is, as of this moment, being raised. But these are youngsters, students, pupils in the universities, and also the ones who have graduated from universities, including our own children, have always lived in the digital world. It's not only about smartphones. They don't talk on the phone. They use a lot of applications. They do everything. My son, for instance, is not interested in anything in the house, but during the pandemic, we, by the way, bought a robot, a smart robot vacuum cleaner. And my son directly got interested in vacuum cleaner. In just 5 minutes, he managed everything, and he made this mechanism work because he downloaded a program, an application to his phone. And this is how the new generation will change our world. If we can't transform, digitalize, and make transparent our companies and factories, if we can't make them traceable, manageable, new generation will find it very difficult to work in the factories. It is not appropriate for their nature, and their hand and eye coordination is very high, and their capabilities of using digital instruments are much better than us. And if you are aware, I don't know, but there are new startups working on digital ways, digital works. They are either young entrepreneurs or young engineers, newly graduates of universities, and they're going to bring a lot of things which are going to make our lives easier. So all in all, we need to say that we should not be afraid of going into digital because the world is changing. We might think that people will be out of employment, but they are not going to be unemployed. It's like Sharif Bey's comment. Human intelligence, especially Turkish human's mind, is very, very creative. So if all the errands will be run by automatic systems, especially Turkish society's creativity will take us to a better place. And I'd like to say this as well. We have to mention this. In 1865, Carroll wrote this book, Alice in Wonderland. Lewis Carroll wrote this book. I think it's a philosophy book. It's not a children's book. So in Alice in Wonderland book, Alice just falls into a pit, and there are a lot of doors in front of her. And she asked to the rabbit, which door should I ask her? She asks the cat, and cat says to her, what are you going to do? Unless you know where you are going, it doesn't matter which door you choose. So we have predictive algorithms, predictive maintenance, quality, artificial intelligence, machine learning robots, and we have many things. So our industrialists or company people, what should they choose? It all is about the destination that they want to go. A decade later, to whom they are going to make their sales, and what is the product that a new generation going to need, for instance. Is this product going to be also sold again? Are these products going to be sold again? This is what is related to the destination that they want to go. Other than these are all instruments, and they should be using the appropriate instrument to go wherever they want to go. But in my previous talk, I shared the importance of automation. Automation concept must be taken into consideration. And if it is possible, I just want to share my screen once again with you. This is very crucial, yes. You can manage your factory on a straight manner. You might say that I have this purpose and I can do this, and you might get certain results. But will the results be okay for you? If it's not okay for you, you have to change something. And in order to carry out that change, IoT data, blockchain structure, and artificial intelligence applications, whatever you want, you can use them. But but you need to get a feedback from the production, and that feedback should be also utilized for your future perspectives. What do you want to do after 10 years, for instance? You need to do something. And there must be cultural transformation. The things which make cultural transformation permanent are the digital instruments. So it's not only initiatives of the people. So cultural transformation could only be made with digital instruments, but it must be on purpose. Certain targets, certain purposes must be determined, and your destination should be also identified. If you want to say, I want to go to this purpose, and this is how I am, and I should be applying this and that, and please show an engineering perspective. Digital transformation is not a fashion, it's not a trend, it's not a style, it's just an engineering trend. Otherwise, you'll lose too much money and you can't get anything out of that. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Like you said, it's not a fashion, it's not something that is a trend. If you say that, it's meaningless, and unfortunately, we are very much hard to make many concepts empty, not meaningless. So this is not something fashion and trend, it is obligation. And I have been in this profession for the last 47 years, and in the transformation projects, by the way, in public and private, I've been included in many projects, and I've seen that in this transformation adventure, you need to be on the journey with the ones who are really into this, who are not convinced, but who have the faith and belief in that. You'll see the difference. Esteemed guests, we have come to the end of our session called From End to End. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you very much for your participation. I'd like to thank Mehmet Akşin, Cem Nuri Cömert, Abdülbahri Danış, Faruk Güler, Mehmet Ali Kasalı, and Aylin Tülay Özden. I'd like to thank all of you one by one for your contribution, and I'd like to extend my salutations once again, and goodbye.
Teşekkürler, sağ olun.